edition of PC Voyage. I'm Rainey Laviolette.
And I'm Diana McLean.
And on tonight's show, we have Keith Davis talking all about modems. You have a modem that you use?
No, I don't.
Well, you ought to get one. And Keith will show you how to do it. He brought in his modem and some software. He's going to show everybody how to plug everything together, how to set up your software, how to set up the modem, and even how to log on to a BBS.
And tell people what a modem is.
Oh, sure. Now put me on the spot. Well, a modem, for anybody who doesn't know, is a communications device that you use attached to your PC, attached to a phone line, and you can communicate to the outside world.
Such as online services and bulletin boards.
Local bulletin boards, yeah. We've done Prodigy and CompuServe, and what Keith's going to do tonight is some local bulletin boards.
So it'll be quite something to see what he's got.
And what we're going to do is Keith already has this prepared, so we're going to go right to the videotape.
Okay, great.
So.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this exciting episode of Bits and PCs. Today we're going to be talking about modems. And modems are a great way to connect your computer to the outside world. In fact, it's about the only way you can do that. And you can get a lot of use out of your computer if you hook up to bulletin boards or commercial services like Prodigy and CompuServe. And we've highlighted those on our show here. So today we're going to talk about modems in general. A lot of people have modems in their computers and they're really not too sure of how to install them and how to hook them up and then how to call out. So we'll take a look at modems, some of the software that you can get with modems, and then we'll try to log on to a local bulletin board here. And that's a whole other thing, is getting onto these bulletin boards. How do you get on? How do you sign on and get into them? And once you're on them, what do you do? And what I brought today was a modem. This is a fax modem. It's an Eagle V.32 fax modem, which means you can use your modem to log on to bulletin boards, and you can send and receive faxes in and out of your computer. And this is an external modem. Typically, an external modem will have on the front of it a series of lights, and these lights all indicate that the modem is doing something as they flash on and off. Data's coming in or going out or whatever. And on the back of these modems, there's generally a few plugs. This is the cable that goes to the serial port, either COM1 or COM2 of your computer. And we won't get into what the COM ports are, but every computer has a COM port or two in the back. This is the line here that would go to the wall in your home and connect up where you would normally plug in a phone. And you can also plug a regular telephone into the other little socket here, and you can use your telephone when you're not using your modem. And you generally also get a power supply with an external modem, and that plugs in right here. And also there are internal modems, and that's what we have in this particular computer today, is an internal modem, and that is a board that plugs into the motherboard in the computer, and you similarly plug in the telephone lines in your telephone into the back of your computer. Now also, along with a modem, you generally get some software of some kind, not necessarily, but this particular fax modem came with WinFax Lite, which is the, let's say it's the stripped down version of the fax software. And if you're running Windows, you would use this. Here's DOSFax Lite. Again, if you're working under DOS, you'd use that one. Here's QModem. QModem is a very good, I believe it's a shareware modem software program, and that is the software that controls the modem that allows you to run it. So you do need this software to run the modem. This other software has to do with the fax, sending and receiving fax. You also generally get books. The user manual on the modem, which tells you the various codes and things that you can type in, and then this has a book on faxes. If you're going to send or receive faxes with it, you get a book for that. And they have a little reference card here. There's a million different brands of modems and fax modems. There's all different kinds of software to run your modem. There's Telex and QModem and Procom, and we're going to be using Procom today. And generally, let's go into Procom here real quick. And over on the screen here, one of our menu options, Alt F8, should get us into that. There we go. And initially, the screen is blank, and it's kind of emulating a terminal, meaning it's waiting for you to give it some instructions. And I believe Alt F10 brings up a help screen under Procom, and this shows all the various things that you can do with the modem. Some of the important initial ones are the setup screen and the line settings, which where you tell the modem software which COM port you're on, what speed modem you have, 1200 or 2400 or 9600, and there's even faster ones. This is a 14.4 modem, and there's a thing called data compression, and if you're connected with another modem like this, it can send data at the effective rate of something like 57,000 bits per second, which is really screaming. But you have to tell your modem software exactly what kind of modem you have and what you're hooked up on. And there's a lot of other different things you can set on the screen here too. If you're going to upload or download files, you have to set a directory as to where the files are going to be located that are going out of your computer and where files will go when they come into your computer. And you generally do that when you log onto a bulletin board with your software. When you go to dial a number, there's usually a dialing directory, and this has a dialing directory. I believe you can get about 100 different phone numbers in here. And we have here a couple of numbers. And what we're going to do here is we're going to set this up as if we have not put any telephone numbers into this dialing directory. And we'll go through and we'll put some of the basic commands into it. So this says R revise, and we're going to revise, say, number 19 here, and 19. And the first thing it does is it's going to say, who's this phone number going to go to? So let's say this goes to Tom's bulletin board, BBS. I spelled it wrong, so we got to go correct that, right? Okay, so it's asking you a name, and now it tells you what's the number that the modem will dial when you send out. And it's 5388331. Who can remember that number? Is that correct? And we'll check that later. Now you have an option to toggle around the speed at which you're going to send out. 9600, 48, 24. Let's log in here at 24. We're going to select that. Then there's a few other miscellaneous settings. If you notice over on the right here, N8 and 1. This is called parity. These are kind of standard things for PCs. N, we'll just select that. Data bits 8 and stop bits 1. And that's what's coming up as a default, and you generally just select those. The only time you'll change those is if a bulletin board or something you're logging onto specifically says to change it to 7 in 2, or next thing is the echo on, no, command file. Okay, save this entry to disk, and we're going to say yes. So now we have, on this line up here, we have a name, telephone number, and some settings. And let me just check and make sure that number is right. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now when we want to dial up to this bulletin board, we just select here number 19, and we hit enter, and hopefully it'll dial the number and connect up to the bulletin board. Now generally when you do this too, we have a ring here, which is good, but generally when you do this, the other person you're calling, if you're calling a bulletin board, the software on their end and your software will kind of take care as to what's happening. And as you can see, we're logging on right now to a bulletin board. And it's asking us, do we want English or French? Do we want graphics, yes or no? Let's select yes, though. And we might have a nice looking line here. And as you can see, we have a nice color picture come up. And this is all data that's being sent over the line right now. and we put what's your first name, last name, and password. And when you initially log on to a system, and let's talk about this just for a second, when you log on, you have to tell them who you are and kind of establish an account with them. And some of these you do have to pay for too. Some of these people ask for a fee for the year, but a lot of them, like this one, are free to sign on to. But they still want to know who you are and what your name is. So you give them your name and all that, and you establish a password so that only you can log on to this. And this says NECS, welcome to the New England Computer Society Bulletin Board. And they have a beautiful color picture up here, and it's asking us, it says we have mail waiting here, okay, on the main board. So someone has probably left me a message, so we'll say yes. And here the SysOp has left a note. It says, PC Voyage, hi there, just a note. I might highlight your BBS on PC Voyage. Now this is the note I left him, and he has responded to me with a note too. And that's very typical of messaging that you deal with on these bulletin boards. So let's go into their main menu here. And that's generally the next thing you do is when you're logging on to a board is you get to some kind of main menu. This is kind of an instructional thing here. And this is some settings. We're still kind of logging in here. Now we're coming up to the main menu. Now what do you do once you're onto a bulletin board? There's a lot of things you can do. Bulletin board operators generally have a lot of shareware and public domain type of software that you can download. And they generally have a lot of directories on their system, and you go into these directories, view the files, and if you think you see a program you might like, you can download it. Another thing that's very popular is messaging. You can leave messages to other people who log onto this board, and a lot of them give you the opportunity to leave messages that get uploaded to nets that get spread out all over the country. So if you have a question on a computer, sometimes you can say, I'm having a problem with my monitor, and does anybody know about an IBM 8514 color monitor? In a couple days, you may have several messages back from somewhere around the country. So now let's take a look, and we selected the letter F, which is file directories. And we can see here on this bulletin board, he's got 6 directories specified, and the files that are in them are generally sorted by games, Windows, programs, utilities, communications, and so on. And what we'll do here is we will select one of these directories. We'll go into number 3, utilities, and again it's bringing up the instructions here of what to do when you're in these. And we'll go through a procedure of downloading a file. So let's go into directory number 3, I think it was, and this is utilities. And right now what it's doing is it's showing a file name list on one side, the size of the file, a date, and a description about the program. And these are what they call archived files, which means that they're generally a collection of many files all archived into one big file, which makes downloading quite a bit easier. And we're pausing now, and as we hit enter, the list will continue along here. And if we see something interesting looking, we can download it. Now here's a thing that says change beep.zip. It's a zip file. It's relatively small. So we might want to try downloading that one. It's CNG beep, and let's take a look at a couple more on here. Here's one called kbd.zip. It says a batch file to change keyboard functions. Well, that's kind of interesting, so let's maybe select that one to download. It's 11,000 bytes, and it shouldn't take very long to download here. And first thing we want to do is we want to tell our software where to send this file when it comes in. And this computer has a RAM drive in it, and it's D drive, and it'll tell us to the computer to send any files over to that. And let's say we want to get this file here, kbd.zip, and we just have to remember the name of it here. And the next thing we're going to do is tell it the letter D. As you can see, this is coming up, and that D is to download a file. So we'll select the letter D, and now it asks us for the file name that we want to download. So it's kbd.zip. And now we're telling the computer on the other end the file name we want to select. And it's checking to make sure it's in there. It's saying it'll take about 1 minute. It's 94 blocks of data. We're now looking at a protocol, and we'll talk about protocols in just a second. Let's select X modem, and it's going to ask us the file name again. And this is so it can establish the file name coming into us. And if you look over here on the right of the screen, you'll see the data is streaming into the computer right now. And it's coming in very quickly, and we're at 2,400 bits here per second. And what this is doing is it's sending small blocks of data, and it's checking to make sure each block of data was sent correctly before it sends the next block. And it does that very, very fast. It sends so many bytes in. It also sends what's called a checksum, which is the numerical sum of all the bits that are being sent at any given moment. And it then, after a block of data is sent, this computer compares that number against what it receives, and it says, okay, I received everything in that block correctly, go ahead and send the next block. And if we go back to the screen, we can see that it's sending a block of data every half a second or so. And we're almost done here, as a matter of fact. We got 94 blocks, or 11,000, 12,000 bytes, and we're getting right up to it. And it says it's been completed. So now we have received into our computer a file. So, and that's one of the many things you can do on a bulletin board. What we'll do now is go back to the main menu, and we'll take a look around the messaging system just briefly. And here's the main line here. You notice here we have a thing that says, J, join a conference. Okay, and conferences are usually the areas where messaging is put, and it's kind of separated out into different categories. So we can see here we have several conferences, and let's go to the #1 conference, okay, which is called Games, and it says view other conference members. No. Scan message base since last read, and it's saying right now, okay, there's no messages to us and no messages found. So in that conference there aren't any particular messages, although it does say there's a message #1. And if you wanted to leave a message in that particular subject, you would write it. It would go maybe to all people who sign on, or you could send it to a specific person who also might log on to this bulletin board here. So, and of course there's a lot of other things you can do on bulletin boards. So now what we're going to do is we're going to log off. We're in the Games conference, so let's abandon this conference and go back to the main conference. And the SysOp wants to show off the nice color logo they have on here. Sure does look nice. And we're going to sign off, but before we sign off, we're going to leave the SysOp a message. In fact, we can even talk to him with a keyboard here. In fact, I'm going to page him, and let's see what the, we can leave a comment to the system operator, or SysOp, and let's see if we can page him though. And let's see if we can find the command for that. I don't see it right away here, but there's generally a command that lets you page the SysOp and come over. But let's leave him a message now. C for comment. And let's see, do you want to leave a message? We say yes. And return receipt, no. You can use a full screen editor. And let's just go along here and say, thanks, Tom and Denise, for the fantastic graphics, and we're down at the bottom of the screen here, for our PC Voyage demo. And we'll put, see you at the next meeting. And now we hit return a couple times, and we can change and edit this message, but the letter S down here will let us save that message. And it saved the comment to the sysop, so the next time the sysop signs on, he will see a message there. And generally, bulletin boards, when you hit the letter G, will log off and sign off. And a lot of bulletin boards, regardless of the software they're using, they may all look a little different, but they have very similar commands for getting in and out of their boards and for negotiating around in their boards. So now we've logged off, and since we did download a file, let's go take a look at it. And we say Alt-X, this will get us out of Procom, and we're back to our main menu on the computer. And let's go up to the D drive, and just so we can see things a little better, we'll change the mode here. And we can see that we now have a file in our D drive, and it's called kbd.zip. And let's unpack it, so we're going to say pk unzip kbd. And it exploded out all the files. And there they are. Here's the zip file that came in over the modem, and here's the expanded contents of it. There's a document file, and there's an exe file. And we can very briefly view the document. Let's go back to mode 80, and let's do C. We have a little file viewer called C, S-E-E, and kbd.doc. And here's the instructions that will tell us how to run this particular program. This is a shareware program. It was written in 1990. The person's name is there, and how much money they want. That's always a very important thing. Send these shareware guys a donation whenever you can, because they write good software. And here's the instructions for it now. It tells us what this program can do, and it goes down and down. And all kinds of instructions there. Just like every other manual, who reads the manual? Just run the program, right? And if we wanted to run the program, we could here. So that's a brief look at modems. If you do have a modem and you're not sure about how to get it connected with a bulletin board, get a friend or get somebody who knows how to work them. And there's a whole world out there besides all the major services. There's bulletin boards, and you can even connect with your friend's computer using Procom or QModem or Telex. You can connect up and send files and messages back between two computers. And it generally takes somebody to help you get going on that sort of thing. But once you're logged on, it's a lot of fun. So have fun with modems, and that's it for this week's Bits and PCs, and we'll see you next time on there. Now, where is that file?
Well, that was an exciting piece. I think Keith put together a good presentation.
Oh, wonderful, and I'm sure it will get many viewers to get into modems and bulletin boards and all that sort of thing.
And with the price of modems coming way down, it's really amazing how, I mean, you can go out and buy a 14.4 modem for under $300, and it used to be, $1,000 a couple of years ago.
That's great.
So it's really amazing how much the prices have come down and how many local boards there are that you can actually call into.
Well, right now we're going to be going to Glenn Trim and Ernie Savoy. They're going to be talking about this new PC.
That's right. This is the third part of their segment on building a PC.
So let's see what they have for information today.
Hi, I'm Glenn Trim,
And I'm Ernie Savoy.
and this is This New PC. We finished up our complete building of our computer the last time, and now we're going to start adding a few peripheral devices. First one we're going to do, Ernie, would you show the card?
Sure.
We're going to add a modem to our system so that we can contact other computers in other cities, places like CompuServe and America Online and a few others, and local bulletin boards as well, through the telephone lines, and this is the device that actually does that. We're going to plug it into the computer and show you how to set it up.
This is an internal modem card. It's going to go in a slot in the machine. It has, on the back plane, it has a plug-in for a telephone line going in and a plug-in to connect up to a telephone so you don't lose the line. And it has a block of dip switches. Our machine was already configured with serial ports 1 and 2. So in choosing the modem, we choose one that we could also configure out at COM ports 3 and 4 so there wouldn't be a conflict in the machine. all COM devices, all modem-type devices are serial devices, whether they be external or internal. And the choice on internal in this point was just because of cost. External ones you're paying for power supplies in the case that they go in. This runs off the power on the machine. So we saved a little bit there. Also, with the advent of high-speed modems and faxes, it's become very, very cheap to add very, very good communications within your home and also have the ability to do work and receive paperwork, fax into your home and fax out of your home with a basic word processor. So why don't we get going with this?
All right. First thing we got to do, obviously, is take the case cover off again. And on ours, we obviously don't have any screws. If yours does have screws, you'd have to undo those screws first. So there goes our cover. We have to identify a slot to put this in. We have a number of choices. We have an 8-bit slot up on the front, and this is an 8-bit card, so we could put it up on the top end of this if we chose to. I think we're going to take a little easier track and put it down where there's a little more space. So we'll open up a hole right here. What do you figure, Ernie? This one?
Oh, all the way down.
All the way in the bottom? Okay.
Yeah. Like with all cards, you handle it only from the edge. You try to set the very base of the back plane in first, or the slot cover, I should say, goes into the back plane, and then slowly rock the card, the knife edge, down into the slot. And when it's firmly seated, then you screw it back in, and that card is installed. Now what we'll have to do is power the machine back up and load the software that we'll use for communications and hook up the telephone lines, and this modem is ready to go.
Well, this is the end of the show.
Another fine show that we've done.
Another great show.
Just had one little thought is, going back to Keith's little piece about modems that he did, is that any software that you download from a bulletin board, you should always check it for viruses.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Make sure that it's not copyrighted software, and also check it for viruses. 2 good little tips to end the show on.
Okay, and we'll see you next time.
I'm Rainey Laviolette.
And I'm Diana McLean.